Welcome to episode 19. And I had to bring my microphone a bit closer there. I am going to be talking to you today. I'm going to give you an update to the situation going on with the GMC. So if you don't know what's been going on with the GMC, then you might need to go back to episode whatever it was and listen to those two episodes where I talked about the GMC investigation into me, because it's coming to a close one way or the other. Exciting times. Hey, I have notes on my phone that I have to look at because I have to read some stuff out today. So if you're watching me on YouTube, which you can do, by the way, you can watch this as a YouTube video, then you might think, what on earth is he looking at? Well, he's looking at his phone. All right, let's talk about the GMC. The GMC, for those of you who don't know, is the General Medical Council. They are the people who issue medical licenses. You cannot practice medicine in the UK without a license to practice medicine, and the General Medical Council is the one that reissues them. That issues them every 5 years. You have to revalidate your license, it's not just like a one and done. And I think that might have other connotations. One and done. Now that I've said it out loud, I think I might be talking about sex, but in this time I'm talking about medical licenses. Okay, calm down, people. Don't allow your mind to go into the gutter like I just did. You revalidate, and I've had absolutely no issues with revalidation the entire time I've been a doctor. There've never been any concerns raised about me until I got on social media. First time concerns were raised about me was some Australian doctor, who's like some ridiculous, Fitspo type, kind of like, you can lose weight any way you want, and I made fun of her. So she reported me to the GMC, a fellow doctor. What a cow. Then there was Deanne, who wrote a complaint about me to the GMC for bullying and harassing her, and she's the one that calls me all sorts of he, she, it type uses those kind of pronouns for me, and clearly has an issue with me being transgender, but the GMC don't give a shit about that. And then a bariatric dietitian called Adrian Brown put in a complaint against me as well, which was investigated separately, and I've talked about these in detail in previous episodes. I won't go into it again. A week ago, I found out that a chap named David, who follows me on Threads, put in a formal complaint about my anti-Semitism because I had been posting about Israel and Palestine. And apparently you can't do that. You can't say stuff about Palestine without being reported to the GMC and the GMC investigating you. I wonder if the GMC is investigating every doctor that's talked about Palestine. It's interesting that they're accusing me, a Jew, of anti-Semitism, but they're certainly not the first people to accuse me of anti-Semitism. As you know, I was very vocal about Palestine on October 8th. I made it very clear how I felt about Palestine. I said, what's happened yesterday, was terrible. I have family members who are personally involved in this absolute travesty, but we need to talk about Palestine. And I started talking about Palestine very openly. I talk about Palestinian rights, as many of you know, but none of my family are speaking to me anymore. I'm dead to them, and quite frankly, they're dead to me, because they are on the side of Israel, and they can go fuck themselves, quite literally. But that's not the point. Since my podcast, I can say whatever I want. But apparently, if you do it on Threads and you get reported to the GMC, they investigate you. Now, I know I'm not the only one that's being investigated. I know people have lost their jobs, and much worse, as a result of being open and vocal about Palestine. It's why I haven't been doing it so much anymore, just because I know how much drama it causes, and I wasn't in a place where I could take on any more drama. I was already dealing with the previous drama. I didn't need new drama, but it doesn't matter. I didn't manage to escape it, and I don't care. I don't care, and you'll find out why. So yes, the GMC have opened a second investigation into me, this time about my stance on social media about Palestine, to which I responded as the grandchild of a bona fide Holocaust survivor and a Jew. I am honoured, literally honoured, that you have decided to take up this investigation into me. It means that my words have counted for something. And I signed off the email Free Palestine, because fuck the GMC and fuck anyone who thinks they can tell me, a Jew, that I'm being anti-Semitic by standing up against a genocide. That's it. But I did it. I don't regret it. And I guess that has really helped to solidify what I was already feeling. I have a hearing with the GMC coming up on the 3rd of June, and I think this podcast will come out before then. I think it will. Yeah, I think it'll be late May when you hear this, or mid-May even. So it'll be in the future. But the outcome of the GMC investigation is kind of irrelevant, because it's not something that matters to me anymore. I want to tell you just sort of some I want to sort of update you. So where are we now? So they offered me a formal warning. The proposed warning said, in 2022, you posted a number of tweets online, 2 of which referred to people's gender, colour and sexual orientation in a manner that was A, inappropriate and or B, offensive and or C, disparaging and D, demonstrative of attitudes that were contrary to those required of doctors by good medical practice. That was the warning that was going to be. And I refused that warning and told them no. So I want to tell you what their issues were. So as those of you who were paying attention to the previous episodes know, I was reported to the GMC, as I said, by Deanne and Adrian on 2 separate occasions, 2 different people. And they decided to investigate me, open investigation into me, the GMC this is, for having bullied and harassed colleagues. Not that either of them were my colleagues, but anyway, promoted misinformation on social media and elsewhere, and made comments on social media which may damage public confidence in the profession. So those are the 3 things that they investigated me for. And after completing their investigation, they decided that well, I've got to find it now. Ooh. Damn, where is it? They decided basically that I was innocent of most of the things that that they couldn't prove. Let's find the exact wording. There is no fitness to practice issues. That's the first thing. There was no employer feedback that revealed any concerns about me either. So no employer feedback, no fitness to practice issues. They decided that the bullying in terms of bullying and harassment, that there is no proof that Dr. Lami's comments in retrospect to either complaints amounted to harassment. Then in terms of promoting misinformation on social media, though it does seem that Dr. Lami's opinions are contrary to a significant body of medical opinion, perhaps the majority prevailing opinion, that in itself does not call his fitness into practice into question. Oh, that's reassuring. So I can have an opinion that is different from other people's, and as long as I'm, backing it up with evidence, it doesn't call my fitness to practice into question. So I'm not. There's no proof that I've been bullying and harassing anyone. And they go on to say, we consider that his views around weight can rightly and reasonably be characterised as his opinion, and cannot be proved to amount to misinformation. We do not consider that the content of his posted or published opinions on weight stigma activism or related matters can be proved to be a significant departure from good medical practice and associated guidance, and on that basis, this allegation is closed with no action. So remember, there were 3 things. The first was bullying and harassment, closed with no action. The second was misinformation, closed with no action. And then the formal allegations. The 2 tweets that are in question, I've explained what they were about. They were my opinions, and I shared them, and I have no issues about sharing them. The GMC has said it has been put to Dr. Lamy that the 2 comments made by him on social media are sufficiently serious sufficiently serious that they amount to misconduct. That's what they've decided. The fact that the comments were made by Dr. Lamy is accepted by him and capable of proof. Yes, I said that I made them. The first comment includes reference to his and his dog's anxiety around white people, and the second comment to his dislike of cisgender heterosexual white men. Dr. Lamy has explained the background to the dog's anxiety. However, we have not been able to draw a clear link between that explanation and the explanation of his own stated anxiety around white people, about which he has said that his status as a minority ethnic person means he has every right to express his fear of the people who have historically oppressed his ancestors for centuries. Apparently, that's not okay that I'm expressing that. It is important to note that the GMC investigation in this case is not into the views held by Dr. Lamy about race, gender or other matters relating to his activism or the historical background to those views. The GMC interest is around the manner of his expression of views in a way that could adversely affect public protection and public confidence in the profession. In our view, a doctor making comments of this nature about being anxious around people of a particular race on social media does have the potential to adversely affect the public protection. We consider there to be a real risk that a member of the public reading Dr. Lamy's views would be concerned that they would be treated in an unfair or less favourable way based on their ethnicity, gender or sexuality. Dr. Lamy himself has referred to evidence of some groups having less trust in doctors than others. Although we do appreciate that Dr. Lamy's comments are about marginalised groups, we consider the same principle that individuals with certain characteristics might feel at risk of less favourable treatment from doctors on the basis of their ethnicity, gender or sexuality to apply to the comments he made and to be a real possibility arising from the manner in which Dr. Lamy has expressed his views. For example, a cisgender, white, heterosexual male reading Dr. Lamy's comments about disliking his species as a general rule and him having to work real damn hard to get into my good books might reasonably impact the confidence that such an individual would have that they would receive fair treatment from Dr. Lamy. We do acknowledge Dr. Lamy's submissions about receiving unfavourable treatment and comments himself and accept that this is relevant context for us to consider. However, particularly in the absence of his acceptance that his comments were inappropriate, in the absence of his acceptance that his comments were inappropriate, the weight give that relevant context is limited. That doesn't make sense. In any event, we do not consider that a tribunal would find the explanation of Dr. Lamy's views completely justifies the negative impact of those views on the public's confidence in the medical profession. So, folks, what about the cisgender white heterosexual man? What about him? He might not feel safe around me. And for that reason, there must be a GMC hearing. We consider the matter to be serious. We have, however, taken into account that the allegations are about comments made rather than about individual patients being treated unfavourably, and that there is no evidence before us that the risk to public protection or public confidence have been realised. That's because there isn't a single white heterosexual male cisgender person who has complained about me being unsafe in the 20 years that I've been practicing medicine. At no point in time has anyone said, I'm concerned that Dr. Lamy is discriminating against me because I am cisgender, because I am white, because I am male. And that's because I don't discriminate against people. We all have our biases. There are people out there who are being discriminated against all the time and their doctors are getting away with it. But this one fucking tweet is enough to harass me for 2 fucking years. Because what about the white man? We have to consider his feelings, even though the threat has never been realised. We also acknowledge Dr. Lamy's submission of testimonials from people. There was like 40 pages or something, confirming that they did not feel they had been treated unfavourably as white cisgender women. So I have submitted proof that there are people who have worked with me who are aware of my social media content and do not feel that they've been treated unfavourably. So not only has this risk never been realised, but I've provided evidence to the contrary, and still that's not good enough. Normally, in these cases, they have to prove without doubt that you're a risk, right? Like the evidence, the burden of proof is upon, I would say, the prosecution. They can't just say, oh, we think it's a risk and therefore it is. They've got to prove that it's a risk. I provided evidence that it wasn't. I said, yeah, you're saying that people don't feel safe around me, but here's evidence that they do. That's not enough. Apparently that's not enough. They don't have evidence that people are feeling scared, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's a risk. There's a risk to white men. White cis men. They're at risk. So our view, based on these factors, is that concerns are not sufficiently serious to warrant action being taken on Dr. Lami's registration. However, we consider the concerns to fall just below that threshold. The realistic prospect test is not satisfied. We therefore move to consider whether a warning would be appropriate and proportionate in this case. And then they go on to lecture. Accepting that Dr. Lamy does not accept his comments were inappropriate, we cannot conclude from the information before us that he has insights into the concerns. There has been no expression of regrets or apology. Dr. Lamy has not previously been subject to a GMC investigation, but has implied that he has made many similar comments in the past. Given his opinion that his comments were neither inappropriate nor offensive, we cannot conclude that the risk of repetition is low. I may reoffend, folks. For this reason, we consider it appropriate to issue a warning to Dr. Lamy, blah, 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 conclusion, investigation, blah, 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 usual bullshit. So did we get that? Did we get all of that? There was accusations that I'd been bullying and harassing people. None found. Case closed. There was accusations that I was providing misinformation on the internet. None found. Case closed. I have been, and I need to make this very clear, acquitted of both of those things. Because when people make allegations against you, it's very important that those allegations are investigated. But once they've been investigated and found that they did not meet the threshold for any further action, then you are now acquitted. Now, you may not like that. You may say, well, I still think you're guilty. That's fine. I don't give a fuck. You can think I'm guilty. Your opinion is not relevant. What is important is whether or not I can continue to practice medicine. And they have said, no, they have said, yes, you can continue to practice medicine when it comes to the allegations of bullying and harassment and when it comes to medical misinformation, which is reassuring because those are the two most important things to me. Bringing the profession into disrepute is where they are making their stand. That is the hill they are willing to die on based on 2 tweets. I don't have a Twitter account anymore, but 2 tweets that I made, taken out of context, because I didn't just say them. They were in the context of a whole fucking thread. Remember when we used to call them a thread of tweets? They were, thread incoming. I used to have that little thread icon emoji, and then I'd be like, this is a thread. And then I'd write lots of stuff on Twitter. Those were the days. So it was in the context. I didn't just randomly say, by the way, cis white people, I hate you. It was taken out of context. But even that, they don't care about the context. They don't care because what about the cis white man? What about his feelings? He may feel that I am discriminating against him. And the risk is so great that they wish to take away my ability to practice. Because whilst they're not actually taking me to tribunal, I assume because they don't think it's worth the time and the hassle, they still want to put that warning on my notes. And if that warning is on my records, how on earth do you think I'm going to be able to get a job? There's a warning on my record saying that I discriminate against people based on their gender, their colour, and their sexual orientation. And even there's no explanation. They don't put gender in and then in brackets cisgender. They just put gender, colour, and sexual orientation. As far as people are concerned, I'm a racist, I'm homophobic, and I'm transphobic. That's what the warning will say. How am I going to get employment? Who? I wouldn't hire me. And that stain will be on my record. They are expecting me to admit it. They want me to say that I am racist, that I am homophobic, and that I'm transphobic. And I will not, because I am not. And fuck them for saying that I am. But anyway, I have been thinking about this a lot. And I am not surprised by this. I am not surprised that an organisation like the General Medical Council is primarily concerned about the protection. Sorry, my computer just did something funny there. The protection of cisgender white men. This does not surprise me. We live in 2024. I live in the UK, a very conservative government. And the GMC, if you look at their, look at all of the members, the directors and the members of the board, they're primarily all cis white men, a couple of cis white women. There are no trans people. There's only one or two people of colour. One, maybe two. I mean, I'm not surprised that a primarily cis white male board of an organisation that is steeped in a history of racism and transphobia and homophobia and essentially operates under the rules of white supremacy, is operates on the foundations of white supremacy, is going to care more about the cisgender white man than anyone else. Of course, that's not surprising. They believe that they have the right to tell me what to say, to think, and to feel. They think they have that right. They don't. They don't have that right. They cannot expect me to bow before them and apologise and say I was wrong and I realise the impact that my comments have made. With hindsight, should I have made those comments? No. I still think them. I still feel them. Should I have said them publicly? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. At the time, I did it and I'm not apologising for it. I'm not apologising to anyone for it because who am I apologising? Aside from apologising to the cis white man, and I'm not apologising to him. I won't. I just won't. If I had actually discriminated against a patient, that's different. Because I can't practice medicine if I'm doing that. That is unethical. I know that all of my colleagues are doing it and getting away with it, but that's the way that white supremacy works, right? But I would not feel comfortable practicing medicine if I actually genuinely discriminated against my patients. And it is possible for two things to be true at the same time. For me to have an issue with white supremacy and white cisgender men as a group of people who have historically oppressed me and my people, I can have an issue with them in general and have absolutely no issues with the patient sitting in front of me because it's not that they didn't individually do anything. There's a difference between the kind of systems and structures and issues that I have with the systems and structures and the actual people. Could I have worded my messages better so that they weren't so offensive and so provocative? Sure, but that's the nature of Twitter. And as I said in my last episode, I'm breaking up with social media. One of the reasons is because I don't like myself when I'm on social media. I say shit that perhaps with hindsight I wish I hadn't said, but who doesn't? Everybody does that. Who's perfect? Not me. Anyway, the GMC believe they have the right to tell me what to say, to think and feel. They don't. They do, however, have the authority to. As long as I am paying for my membership, and I pay quite a bit of money for that membership every year, as long as I'm paying for my membership to the GMC in order to practice medicine, I can't not have a membership. As long as I'm doing that, they have the authority to tell me what to think, say and do. It's not right, it's not fair, but they do have the authority. And this is part of my evolution. This is part of my journey. I'm beginning to realise that the only options in this situation, I can't control them. I've tried in the past to persuade people to use, evidence and intellectual debate and my words and my deeds, oftentimes, like fawning or kind of capitulating or bowing or kowtowing or whatever you want to call it. I have done all of these things in the past. I've got to get these people to like me so that they can continue giving me my medical license. Otherwise, I can't practice. I've done that, but I'm not doing that anymore. Oh, I'm too old and I don't care anymore. I have only one option here, which is to say, I don't think you have the right, but I get that you have the authority, and therefore, I have no choice but to step down. I have no choice but to opt out of this white supremacist culture that you insist on maintaining. I get it. I can't change your mind. And I didn't know when I was applying to medical school back in 1998, 97 I applied, 98 I got started. I didn't know in 1997 that this is how it's going to turn. I didn't know anything about white supremacy. Maybe if I'd known with hindsight, maybe I would have made a different choice, but it's too late to care about that now. It's done. 20 years of my life I've given to this profession. I would have given 20 more, and I was a good doctor. No matter what these assholes say about me, I was a good doctor. I had really good feedback from my patients and my colleagues. As long as I was towing the line and I wasn't speaking out of turn and I was performing in the way that they wanted me to perform, they had no issues with me. And I helped a lot of people and I saved some lives, folks. And that was quite a privilege. But also there were lots of unpleasant things that I did, like weight stigma, unpleasant things that my colleagues did that I never stood up to, like racism and homophobia and transphobia. And the more outspoken and the more and the braver I got, the more trouble I got into because people didn't like it when I called into question their weight stigma and their weight stigma, their fat phobia, their homophobia, their transphobia, their racism, etc. They don't like that. They don't like it. They didn't like it. The GMC didn't like it when I stood up in a meeting full of doctors after they had given this impassioned speech about how racism had to be eradicated from the GMC, after they give this pathetic yet impassioned speech about how it was terrible. They didn't like it that I stood up and went, yeah, that's great, but what are you doing about it? That did not go down well. It went down like a lead balloon. Is that the right phrase? So yeah, I guess my only choice is to opt out. So that is why I no longer have a career in medicine. I can't have a career in medicine and be the authentic version of myself, because every time I speak out, I will know in the back of my mind that they have the power to silence me. And now that I'm on their radar, they're going to come for me every single time. Anybody will be able to complain and they will come for me again and again and again and again. And I don't want to fight that fight. And I shouldn't have to fight that fight. And also, I don't feel comfortable working for an organisation that chooses to prioritise the safety and well-being of white cisgender heterosexual men. That's not the kind of organisation I want to work for. So that's it. On the 3rd of June, I will be formally tendering my resignation from the GMC. They lost a doctor. Oh, and, the historical background to this is I think it was the University of Bath or Southampton, I can't remember which one it was, just recently released a paper in which they found that approximately 50% of the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK, so 50% of healthcare workers are suffering from chronic burnout. 50%, 50, half. How's that going to work out, folks? They're about 20%, between 20 and 25% down on doctors. I think here in Scotland, in some parts of Scotland, it's 25% down. That means that 25% of doctors' posts that existed 10 years ago do not exist anymore. The population has gone up. The number of doctors has gone down dramatically. I had 20 years left in me. The GMC had a good doctor, but they chose to die on this hill, as it were. They said, we will not give up until we have punished Dr. Asher Lamy suitably, because he had the audacity to offend the cis white heterosexual man. Well, there you go. And thus endeth my career. In medicine, that is. I still have a career. I have a better career. I have a better job. I fucking love my job. I told you this last week. I love my job. I'm part diagnostician, part active listener, part coach, part mentor. Oh, all of the parts of me are coming together to form the real me, the fat doctor, version 2.0. You book a consultation with me, you will have a safe space to offload. You're going to get validation. No judgment. The opposite of judgment. The only people I'll be judging are your useless doctors. You can come as you are. There is no need to perform for me. You don't need to put things in order, bring notes or anything like that. You can start in the middle and you can go off track as many times as you like. Not a problem. I'm here for all of it. I've got 20 years of medical knowledge and practice under my belt. I have, in the course of my career, worked in OBGYN, pediatrics. I have worked in emergency medicine. I have worked in geriatrics or care of the elderly. I have worked in psychiatry. I have worked in prisons. I have worked, what else have I done? I've done child health checks. I've done OBGYN checkups. I've done, I do mental health checkups all the time. Like, I am a jack of all trades, and I'm not master of none, but like, I know a fair amount. I know a lot about diabetes and insulin resistance and PCOS, and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I know what it is. And lipedema, I also know that is. A lot of people don't. A lot of doctors don't think it's a real thing. And me, I do. I know how to treat idiopathic intracranial hypertension without telling you to lose weight. I know how to interpret liver function tests better than most doctors, because I actually know the score we're supposed to use. So when they tell you you've got fatty liver and you need to lose weight, I can tell you what the actual evidence says. I can do, what else can I do? Oh, fibromyalgia, pain control. You need some support with that? Yeah, I understand how that one works. I understand what it's like to not be believed by your doctor when you say, I'm in pain, and they're like, or when you say, oh, I'm not actually eating that much, and they like look at you like, Oh, eating disorders. Hey, I'm fairly clued up. I thought I was clued up about eating disorders before I got into kind of weight stigma and weight inclusivity. And then I learned about actual eating disorders and how eating disorders present and what they are. So yeah, I know about that. Depression, gotcha. Autism and ADHD. Hey, I've got you there too. And I have some lived experience here, folks. And there is a very fine line. When you're practicing as a doctor, your personal experience is irrelevant. Right? Like, you don't bring your own experience in to the medical consultation. And I'm used to maintaining that boundary. I hate, like, when you go and see someone and they're like, well, in my experience, who cares about your experience, dude? Oh, I found that if you do this diet, I don't care. I'm glad that you found that diet worked for you, or it worked for your uncle, or it worked for your, second cousin's wife's sister-in-law. I don't like that. That's fine for you, but I'm not interested in that. And so I'm quite good at maintaining that boundary, right? I'm not going to bring my own experience into the consultation or a consultation with me. But sometimes I find myself putting my little mentor hat on and going, yeah, that really sucks. I hear you. I understand what you're going through. And sometimes I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Mine's much higher than that. I'm not worried about it. And so that's a level of professionalism that I couldn't do that as a doctor. Like, I could never do that as a doctor. And I choose how I do that. I'm very careful about it. But for some people, they're like, oh, that's good to know. It's good to know that you are going through a similar situation and that you were able to say, fuck off. Like, your BMI is higher than mine and you're still telling them to fuck off. Like, that's nice. So there is that kind of mentoring thing as well that I have going on that I get to do now that I didn't used to get to do before. And coaching, I have time to sit down with people and be like, right, let's get down to things. Let's get to the nitty gritty of it. And there'll be some things I can't do and I'll refer you on to other people. Like, I'm not a dietitian and I'm not a counsellor and I'm not a psychologist and I don't do EMDR, but I might say, hey, have you ever thought about this? Check out this person. They're fat and they're really inclusive and they're a friend of mine. So that's nice to be able to do as well. But yeah, I fucking love this job. Love it. I love doing this work. It is a dream come true for me, and it's where I shine and it's where I can be most helpful, like someone who said it to me, I think it was Nicola who said to me, people are coming to you and not vice versa. Like, when you come and see me as your doctor, you didn't have a choice. It's like, you can't even ask for me anymore. Like, if I'm your doctor, you just, whoever is free that day, that's who you get given. Maybe if you live in other parts of the world, you get to choose a bit more. But even then, I don't think you get that much of a choice. But when people come and seek me out now, they're deliberately looking for me, right? They're looking for a weight inclusive doctor who can help them. So, yeah. So long farewell to my career in medicine. It's been a big thing. Like, I've had to work through my issues of pride and vanity and the loss of privilege that will come with it. Because, yeah, being able to say I'm a doctor, like, it's gotten me a lot of things and gotten me into a lot of places, and which isn't fair. But it was nice, and now I don't get that anymore. But on the other hand, I will, I think, evolve into a much better human being who will be able to do much cooler things for the people that I really care about, which is fat people, particularly fat people who have been treated really badly by their doctors. Onward and upward, folks. See you next week. Don't know what we'll be doing. I think maybe, is it time for a guest? So we had a guest in episode 16. And what are we, 19 now? So I think it might be time for a guest, folks. Can't promise you there will be one, because as you can tell, I am making this up on the fly. But maybe it'll be a guest, maybe it won't be. See you then.